Listening to BBC Radio Gloucestershire. Now, you may remember hearing Dorothy Leach, a woman on BBC Radio Gloucestershire early this year. Dorothy's from Hardwick. She's 76. She woke up one morning last year to discover she'd completely lost her sight. She suffers from something called giant cell arteritis. It's an inflammatory disease of the blood vessels in the eye. And Dorothy described the moment she was told by her specialist that she'd lost her sight forever.
He just stood up and he said, "Well, I'm very sorry, Mrs. Leach, but when you go out from here, you'll be registered blind." And that was the first we knew anything about that. And the girls were devastated.
Just imagine. And currently there's no treatment for this condition in Britain, but then the family heard about pioneering surgery that is available in China. So imagine, you found a possible cure, you've raised the money for that, for the treatment. In fact, the family have actually managed to raise £10,000. And with the money in place, you've booked a date for the surgery. Great. Good end to the story, perhaps. Well, that's where it gets a little bit more complicated. Travel insurance pops in. They couldn't find a company willing to insure Dorothy for her trip. The hospital will cover any problems with a medical procedure, but because the trip is due to last for 42 days, because of her age and the medical condition, the companies won't insure her. They'll only cover 30 days of the typical kind of travel insurance. You know, the sort of thing. You might trip up as you come out of the plane. What do you do next? Well, you need travel insurance to cover that, don't you? Well, our reporter, Manpreet Melly, met up with Dorothy and spoke about her plight. But first, daughter Mandy talked a little bit more about this pioneering treatment.
Well, we found out about it through the internet by this one young girl that had the treatment done and was a success. So we went, they were holding a conference in Manchester to show you the process she went through. The doctors were there and there was a slideshow and she was present as well. And so we went up to the conference to see what it was all about and whether it was feasible for Mum, you know, to have it done. So we thought it was a good idea. Then what you had to do is you had to submit a medical background of what happened to Mum and everything, because, you know, they've got to look to see if they could help or not. Then they rang back to say that yes, they thought maybe they could help Mum. So we've been fundraising ever since to send her over. It worked for that little girl, but it doesn't guarantee that it would work for Mum.
So what kind of success rate have you been told you might be able to get on this treatment?
I don't know myself what it was. I can't remember.
No, I can't remember.
No, but there was other people with different conditions that it had worked for. So, but like you're saying, it's just one of those things that it's either going to work or it's not.
Yeah.
I suppose you're feeling quite helpless as well, aren't you, when your mum's going through this? So it's something for you to do towards helping her get better.
Yeah.
So I suppose it kind of gives you all hope, doesn't it? And
yeah, it does. Everyone's, you know, thinking, oh yes. You have still got to look at it though, as if it may not work. But even if she was able to determine between day and night sort of thing, even a little bit would help her sort of thing to make it a lot easier, you know.
You'd reached your target, you'd got the money that you needed to go over there, yet, you know, you suddenly come across this insurance problem.
It's it. Yes.
And you're already going through a difficult time. How did you feel?
Rotten. Rotten. 2 days rotten.
So just a couple of days ago, you got some good news.
Yeah.
You have now got insurance cover, and it's your treatment's, is it 41 days?
Yep.
And you've got insurance cover for the whole time now?
All the time.
But it wasn't easy, was it, to get this insurance cover? You've been contacting quite a few different places.
Yeah. They were very reluctant to come forward because of Mum's age and health problems. Once they knew she was going over for an operation, they were reluctant to do the insurance. But like most of them would cover her for 31 days, which is like a normal policy sort of thing, but they wouldn't do it for the 42, whereas really she needs to stay that long so for the treatment to take its natural course.
And you're flying off pretty soon, aren't you?
Yeah, 15th.
15th is your flight out there.
Yeah.
And your treatment will last how long?
Treatment is 41 days. Well, I got to be there for 41 days. I suppose that's when they'll let me out after that.
That's Dorothy Leach and her daughter Mandy talking to Manpreet Melly, our reporter from BBC Radio Gloucestershire, about this treatment that they're travelling to China for. You hope that it has some effect, don't you? It's a lot of money to spend, but I suppose you've got to cling to any chance of hope that her sight might return, even if it's just distinguishing, as they said, between light and dark. So what about travelling abroad for this kind of treatment, and why is it so difficult to get travel insurance? So we're going to talk a little bit later on to the British Association of Travel Agents, in fact a guy called Martin Rothwell, about why it's so difficult and the sort of firms you need to go to if you need help in this way. So stay tuned, we'll do that at around 20 to 10 this morning with travel insurance.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think the shape of travel insurance in general has changed over recent years. I mean, we've got certainly an ageing population. More and more people are, used to travelling abroad and want to continue travelling abroad into their sort of older years. And obviously, the purpose of those trips varies. Gone are the days of the sort of bucket and spade trip to Spain. Obviously, people want to do different things, and travelling abroad for sort of medical treatment is becoming more and more common, and that is certainly a very specialist area and a niche within the sort of travel insurance market.
Okay, just remind us of the sort of thing that basic travel insurance is covering you for when you go and make a trip abroad.
I mean, the cover is quite wide under a travel insurance policy, but the primary sort of reasons why anyone should think about travel insurance when they travel overseas is the cover for cancellation. So if they fall ill and have to cancel their trip before they go, so they can get their money back. And then, of course, medical expenses whilst they're abroad. So if you have a problem whilst you're overseas, your medical expenses will be covered by your travel insurance. And, of course, uniquely, the travel insurance will get you home in the event of an emergency.
I mean, what are they worried about then, the travel insurance companies, when it comes to you going abroad for surgery? Because in many cases, if you've paid for the surgery abroad, the payment for that surgery covers you in terms of any medical problems when you're out there. Are they worried that you might just trip over on your way out the plane or something, or that the condition you're going out for treatment with might cause some concern around the actual operation of the
Yeah, I certainly think, if you've got a medical condition, the wider marketplace who are looking to cover people just going on holiday who've got a pre-existing medical condition would be looking at that condition to be sort of stable and controlled, so they can control the risk and then obviously price the insurance accordingly. Obviously, somebody who's going abroad with the purposes of receiving medical treatment for a condition, obviously the insurers have then got to assess the risk involved in sort of the treatment which that customer's going to take whilst they're abroad, and obviously that becomes a much more specialist area.
So then there are firms who do deal in this kind of insurance.
Yes,
What do they get out of it then? I mean, if so many other firms are reluctant to insure you?
Well, the firms that are looking after that sort of side of the market, that is the focus of their market. Much the same as you've got some motor insurance companies that only want to insure, drivers that are aged under 35, and you've got sort of household insurance companies that only insure thatched properties. You've got travel insurance companies that only insure people who are, they actually call it medical tourism.
Right, and I've found it. It's a long time since I've filled in one of these forms, because it's a long time since I've been abroad. But do you have to always state medical conditions, those kinds of things, when you're filling in an insurance form?
Yes, yeah. I mean, insurance is priced according to the level of risk. So certainly, age and medical history of an individual are the key factor to assessing the risk. All travel insurance companies will have a definition of what they define to be a pre-existing medical condition. So obviously when you're looking to take out insurance, look at what the definition of pre-existing conditions is, and that's generally speaking any condition where you've had hospital treatment in the last 12 months, you're receiving any prescribed medication, even if it's medication for something which might be a condition you don't think you've actually got. I mean, many people take medication for high blood pressure and cholesterol, and the condition's actually under control. It doesn't cause any problem, but it is still a condition, so it should still be declared. Obviously, you can generally do that over the phone. More and more insurers like ourselves, you can do the medical screening completely online, so you can do it sort of at a time to suit yourself. And then obviously you can look at the available policies that come back.
And cost? I mean, how much more is it going to cost you to get insured if you're going out for an operation than it would if you were just going out on holiday?
I mean, we as a company don't sort of, but whilst we're travel insurance specialists, we don't cover sort of medical tourism, certainly. But what I can say is in terms of cost, the cost again being related to age, and the fact that sort of travellers certainly in their 80s are around 8 to 12 times more risky for an insurer than customers under the age of 65. So, the costs with travel insurance can vary. I mean, the average price, sort of, across all customers can be around about £31. But it could increase to over 131 for someone over the age of 65, and we've certainly got, as a company, case studies for, for example, a 77-year-old going to the States, angina, high cholesterol, skin cancer, and we see, you can get quotes in the wider market where the premiums can vary from sort of £200 or £300 to £2,000 or £3,000. Right. So, I mean, it's really important to shop around.
And where do you do that shopping around? If this is something that this kind of situation you're in, where's the best place to get advice?
Well, certainly, look for a travel insurance specialist. Look on the internet. If you've got access to the internet, or a member of your family has got access to the internet, Google what you're looking for. Don't sort of Google just travel insurance, because the results, pages and pages, and many of them will be sort of comparison sites. Try Googling a bit more specific. So if you're looking for travel insurance and you've got a heart condition, type in heart condition, travel insurance, over 65, and that'll whittle your search down. So you'll find some of the more specialist providers that, obviously, if they're talking about that type of cover on their website, one would hope, obviously, that they can provide it.
Useful advice. Martin Rothwell, thank you, from World First Travel. He's a managing partner there, World First Travel Insurance, with some advice this morning about travel insurance if you are going abroad for a procedure, for perhaps an operation. BBC Radio Gloucestershire, it's 8 minutes on...